Good evening, everyone. My name is Jack Reed. I'm Vice President of Customer Experience for NUITEQ, the developers of Snowflake. I would like to begin by welcoming everyone to another webinar. We appreciate everyone that has joined us, and we look forward to a great time of sharing some things with you about Snowflake and some new things that just happened today, actually, with Snowflake with the web-based version. I'm going to ask that everyone turn off their cameras. Turning the webcam off will help us conserve bandwidth for people that are dealing with less internet strength than others. So at this time, I would like to introduce Danielle Macklin. Danielle works with NUITEQ, and she is an education technology specialist. And Danielle will be leading the webinar this evening. If you have any time that you have a question, please feel free to chat in the chat box to me. Again, my name is Jack Reed. It says John Reed. John Reed. Please feel free to chat with me, and I will ask the question when it's an appropriate time to interrupt Danielle. So again, thank you, everyone. And Danielle, thank you very much for agreeing to lead this evening again.
It's my pleasure. Hi, everyone. Welcome again. I'm really happy that you're all here. I know that this week before Christmas break is usually a little crazy in school, so I do appreciate you taking the time to join us on our webinar. We are going to be spending time today talking about the Arrange lesson activity type. So Arrange is a really good setting, really great lesson for creating timelines, putting things in sequential order. So I'm going to show you a few different ways to use that in your own classroom. I'll model a high school science type lesson, and then I will model one for elementary students using a short story. So I'm going to begin by sharing with you my window. So I'm going to go ahead and open up our new Snowflake. Now, if you're not familiar with this, Snowflake and Snow.live, it's similar, but Snow.live is our online platform. So with Snow.live, one of the really great features is it allows you to work on lessons really anywhere. So I've created lessons waiting for my car to be serviced using my phone because it has that kind of mobile feature. I just need to connect to a web page. And it makes it really easy to just create. It's very, very user-friendly. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today, is how to use Snow.live. So I will walk you through the create portion of our activities, and then I'll also share with you some of the new features that we've launched on our new updated Explore page. So I'm going to start with my lesson activities. I have already signed on, so you're seeing some of the other work that I've done. All right, so here we have under the Create with Lesson Activity, it shows you all of our lesson activity templates. So with these, you can create your own content simply by putting in your own data. Of these 16 lesson activity templates, you can also filter by assessment. An assessment is where you would be able to provide students with direct right or wrong answers. You can also assign it within your class and mark it as a gradable assignment so that you see that raw scored data for it. So today we're going to be doing the Arrange lesson type. So Arrange is very simply putting items in order. For all of our lesson activities, as well as all of the features of Snowflake, we do have a series of training videos available at training.nuiteq.com. I'll send that link out to you momentarily. So here we have our standard lesson design template. So we have a place for lesson name. I'm going to start with a high school lesson. So I'm going to do a little bit about the pH scale. I try to title my lessons at the beginning because if I'm working on multiple things, I might forget which one is which. So this is just my reminder of what I'm doing. With that, I have the option to create group and create content. In the Arrange lesson type, when I create a group, it sets it up as a different round. So if I wanted to have students doing multiple rounds or multiple activities where they're arranging things, this is the feature I would use first, so creating a group. And I'm going to have my directions for this. So I'm going to say place the solutions from acidic to alkaline. And then I would start by adding in the items that I want to have in my Arrange. So and I do have a little bit of a cheat sheet. I taught social studies, not science, so I had to go and make sure that I was doing this correctly. So I'm going to start first with stomach acid. So as I'm adding in items, I'll be able to see on my preview screen the directions and then the items that I put in the boxes. With all of that, I can change the font we have our featured fonts. I can also change the size of my words, so I can make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to try it at large so we can see it a little better. I can change the color, and I can also change if it has a shadow. Shadow makes it almost like a bold feature. See those options. So I'm going to just add my list, and then we'll go through the other details. So we have stomach acid, vinegar, coffee, which I know as teachers we practically live on, water, which we have as a neutral, baking soda, soap, and I'll do oven cleaner. So I have the items that I would want my students to arrange. If I were to click Create Group again, I would now have a second round. And then I would have my info there. So then students would have to participate in both rounds before moving on. In this case, I'm just going to do the one round. Once I've put in my data, I have ability to customize. I can change where I want it to start. I can adjust the pins so that would be the location where my items would be placed on the graph. And I can also label my graph. So I can have it start from acid to a base. And then by updating my preview, that information will then be added to my sheet. I also have the option where I can change backgrounds of my individual boxes. So a lot of times you'll see teachers among the NUITEQ team, we will create customized backgrounds for our lessons. We save those as JPEGs and upload it in. Or if you wanted, you could search for backgrounds. So we have our browse option. Browse is going to take me to items that I've already saved on my computer hard drive. I can also connect to my Google Drive and get items from there that I have saved, as well as the content gallery. So this is images and pictures generated by NUITEQ, so part of the kind of Snowflake catalog. Or I can search. So if I search, it would pull up. Having the ability to add pictures is really great if you want to differentiate instruction. Maybe I want to help those students make the connection between what the items are and what the words mean. Or if I was doing this for my really little students who maybe haven't developed all of those reading skills yet, the pictures would be really helpful for them. So I could then add a picture, and I do apologize, these are kind of icky. And then I can adjust the fit of my picture. So you see in the preview, this is just the standard window. I can choose to fill my entire box so that then that image moves. So it fills up the whole space. And then center, since it's probably a big picture, it's probably not going to work very well. I can also just fit it in there. So with that, is adding the information to my lesson. I can then customize other features of the lesson. I can choose to add a different theme. We have 23 backgrounds already loaded in. Right now it is set to Snowflake as the background. We also have some backgrounds that have really fun moving features. Dungeon is really fun. I like using that around Halloween time. We also have a jungle one that moves, an ocean one, and a space one. And then we do have our backgrounds that are a little bit more understated, so they don't have that same vibrancy that might be distracting for some students. So there would be a pinboard one. So I could choose any of those themes. The other option that I could do is I could choose my own background. So just like we saw with choosing pictures for the boxes, I can search for my own background, or I can upload from my own saved items. I have my downloaded materials, and I have an image of pH scale. So if I had backgrounds that related specifically to my lesson, this would be a really great way to do this. I taught middle school social studies, so with my students, if we were learning about ancient Greece, I always had a background of some Greek architecture, maybe the Parthenon or Mount Olympus when we were talking about the Greek gods. So it was just a way to make that lesson special and give it a little bit of customization. I also have the option to play the lesson with a timer. So if I set a timer, say I want my students to compete in a race, maybe I'm setting this up on 2 of my zones, and I want them to have 2 minutes. Or maybe it's a station rotation activity. And then once the timer goes off, they would move to another space. So those are features that you can add in as well. Now to play this lesson, if you're not familiar with the Arrange lesson template, this activity plays by moving into the correct space. If I get it wrong, it shows an X. If I get it right, it would show me the little check mark. So if you're assigning this for a student, you have the option for it to be a scored activity. So it could be an assessment where they would have to answer obviously correctly, and then you could see how well they performed on that. I go back to my edit feature. All of our lessons also include a lesson activity info space. So here I would write a description about my lesson. This would be a lesson activity about the pH scale. When we write our lesson descriptions, we have more information. We try to give you instructions. So here's how you could use it in a whole group direct instruction model, or here's how you could have this lesson be for independent practice. We also have, this is one of our new features that we just released today on our web version. I was really excited to see it. We have the option for you to add screenshots of your lesson. So if you're choosing to upload to the community to share your lesson with all of the users of Snowflake, you can upload up to 3 screenshots of your lesson activity. We recommend that you take those screenshots and save them as JPEGs or PNGs with a resolution of 1280 by 720 pixels. This is just to give a preview for other users to see if there were maybe different rounds or different ways to play your lesson activity. So that's a really great feature I'm excited to see. All of our lessons also have the ability to add YouTube videos. So you can directly add a YouTube video. If you know the link, just copying and pasting, or you can search. I might want to search for pH scale for students. And then I can add in a video that would be applicable to what my students are doing. I can then set to adjust my video. Maybe there's only a section of the video that I really want them to see, and it's a long video. So I could say I wanted to start 10 seconds in, and I only want them to watch the first minute of it. So I want it to be done within 1 minute. So that's the feature. I can also decide to have that lesson or that video play before my students participate in the activity. So in that model, if I hit play, you'll see that my video appears at the beginning. So there we go. And I'm going to close out of that. And then my students can then play the activity. All of our lessons also have ways for you to filter, where you're able to add lessons for different age groups. This would be a high school level. I can also change the subjects. So I would add this as my science lesson. I can filter by country, and I can add additional web links. So if there were outside resources that I wanted my students to visit, maybe a website, like the pH scale, there's really great activities on the PhET website. So I might want to add a link to that. Or maybe I want to have a link for a Google Doc that I want my students to complete after. That's an opportunity for you to add that. And then that would appear in the lesson description as your students are playing.
Danielle, we have a question from Scott. He wants to know, is there a way to view other rounds in the preview window, or does it only show the first round?
I believe you're asking the preview window from the community, is that correct? Or the preview window as you're creating?
I'm going to say while you're creating, okay, and let him respond to me if I'm incorrect.
Sure, I'll explain both of them. We'll do it that way.
Even as you are creating.
No, sorry, so when I'm creating the round that would appear, so if I go back to my managed content, just to give you, so if I'm doing another group, so arrange, and then I have my boxes. So now I'm seeing that first part. If I wanted to go to the next round, in my preview I would simply hit next, and it would show me the following one, and I could go through however many rounds I've created. From the lesson community for a preview, unless we have a lesson screenshots of the different rounds, right now we only have the first screen, so the first round would be the preview. Does that answer your question, Scott?
He said thank you.
Perfect, good. I'm glad I was able to answer it. So I've gone through the description, the YouTube, how to filter through. We also have the option to add keywords to your lesson. So these would be your searchable features. So if I had keywords, I would maybe say this lesson's about science, chemistry, pH scale, acid, base. So all of the words that relate to the lesson I've created. This is if you were to load your lesson into the community, this feature would allow other people to type in any of those keywords and your lesson would be tagged for it. I also have the opportunity to add lessons by standards, or excuse me, add standards to my lessons. We have our Common Core standards, and we have a lot of other standards for every area. So if I knew, okay, I'm in this particular region, I could search by my region, or I could also search by a specific tag. So I know this lesson is about pH. I might want to do a general search and see if I can pull up the standards. Maybe I don't remember the name of the standard or the exact wording. This would be my feature that would allow me to pull up all of the standards related to that particular tag. And as you can see, I have a nice long list of those standards. And again, I can filter down a little bit more. So I can add my standard. I picked one. I'm not sure if that was right, but then now my standard's linked to that lesson type.
Danielle?
Yes.
Do all the lessons that you create automatically go to the community, or can you just create and save them for yourself?
That's a really good question. That's a really great question. No, unless you hit Save to Community. So if you notice, and I'll go a little slower, if I hit my, I think you want to call it your hamburger icon, the 3 bars, the More feature, I have the option to change my lesson type. I have the option to then save it to the community. And even if I choose to save it to the community, it does give me an extra prompt. So in the event that I accidentally hit it, I can then say, nope, I want to keep this lesson just for me, and I'm the only one who's going to use it, or nope, I would like to share it with the community for anyone to enjoy. So those are the features. So it does not automatically save to the community. You have to push it to the community.
Thank you for that question, Allison. And we have another question from Angela that
Great.
says, if a video is the first thing, would the video show up in the preview window for the community, or would it be the first round page?
The preview does show up in the community for the video, and it usually would have the link also for the YouTube if you wanted to watch the video first to make sure that it was acceptable for your class. So that is visible. I'll try and find from the Explore page. Let me see if I can find one to show you. I'm going to go back to the Snowflake community lessons.
I believe, Danielle, she might be asking, and maybe I'm misunderstanding between the two. She may be asking, when you're looking at the community, is the thumbnail that's on the preview?
Oh, the thumbnail is not. The thumbnail is going to be the first round of the lesson activity. But if you hit info, you should be able to see any video that is attached to it. So on the Explore page, if you are looking for lessons with videos at the beginning, you'll notice these tiny little YouTube icons. Those videos are YouTube linked lessons. So if you hit More Options and Lesson Activity Info, it's going to show you the preview of the lesson itself. It's also going to have the opportunity for you to like the lesson, to play the lesson, shows the amount of downloads, and then a new feature we have is the ability to comment on lessons. So you can add your feedback for anything. We also have the option where you can send lessons out on Twitter, you can pin them to your boards, share them on Facebook, and then link lesson activities. So if there's one that you found that you wanted to share with your colleagues, the link feature would provide a link for you to be able to share. You also have the option to straight download the lesson. So if you needed to download and maybe save to a flash drive, USB, this would be the feature to do that. So I hope that answered the question about what the preview looks like. While I'm at the Explore page, and it's not being too slow, I'd like to share a few of the other features that we just released today. Like I said, I was super excited. I definitely had my moments of kind of being like a big geek about all of the new features we've added in. Some of it is the searchability. We've made this a lot more user-friendly, and the ability to search lessons by targeted age, by lesson activity types. If you wanted to see examples of other arranged lessons, you can search by that. We have our filters for subjects, countries, and a new feature we have is featuring our NUITEQ teachers. So with the NUITEQ teachers, if you create this shows all of the lessons that we in the content creation team have created. The NUITEQ teachers were all educators or former educators, so we have that understanding not just of the particular content, but also of pedagogy and an understanding of how this lesson can be incorporated into, or this lesson activity could be incorporated into an entire class instructional lesson. So we try to include those resources as well. You can see too the icons, types of names, kind of show also that we are NUITEQ verified teachers.
So Danielle, I had a question that came up that I'll answer for you.
Okay.
And it says there was a little tag that said verified teacher on the lesson that was pulled up.
Yeah.
What makes someone a verified teacher? So would you choose the button that shows all the categories? So there's everyone, which is anyone that's ever created a lesson and put it out to the community. There's verified teachers, and there are NUITEQ teachers. So NUITEQ teachers are staff that we employ, and they create content, Danielle being one of them. So they create content that is aligned to the standards. The verified teachers are not verified in the way that you may think of it from an educational standpoint. It is actually some people that use the system a lot. So if they've created a lot of lessons, they would come up under that. So maybe most popular, or most popular, but most creative, most creating. It's people that have created the most numbers of lessons. So there is no rubric that we use to review them to make sure that they are pedagogically sound. It's just people that have been very active in the system. And then the NUITEQ teachers are our employees. Generally, we've found that the teachers that have been the most active are building pretty good lessons. So it's just one more step where you can choose to look for people that have learned the system a little bit better and may do things a little bit more creatively to get ideas from, or to get some good content from. But again, we don't jury any of the content, and it's not reviewed with a rubric. So hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you, Doug. But if you are interested in finding lessons just from our NUITEQ team, we always feature on our Explore page. All of the lessons here are going to be from the content team. We try to change it regularly. So you can see right now we have a lot of holiday-themed lessons as we are approaching the Christmas holidays. So we have those. We also have lessons from different regions that we partnered with, and certain subject-featured lessons as well. Here you can search through. All of these lessons are vetted by our NUITEQ team. Now, if I found a lesson on the community that I was interested in playing and having in my class, I can simply hit play, and then it goes automatically into my lesson list so that I have that kind of in my cache of lessons. The other options that I have, if I find lessons from the community, is I can read the info. So you can get a little bit more understanding of who is this lesson geared for, what is this lesson activity type, as well as a description, information of how to play, and links to any standards that might be applicable to that. I also can take these lessons and I can send them directly to my students. So one of the features that we have in Snow.Live is the ability to create classes where we can set up and manage students. I'll show you that feature. So I have my simple test class in which I'm the only student in it. So I can create new classes. I can also import my classes from Google Classroom or as a CSV. And then within my classes, I have the ability to assign activities to my students, which doesn't look like I have any in this one. Let me try a different class. Oh, I'm under Manage Students. There we go, that's why. So I can assign activities to the student, I can change the classes, and then I can see what my students have completed. So I can see all of the lessons that I have assigned, and I can select the lesson and see if my student has completed it. So I have 5 lessons in this class. I can check the lesson, each of the lessons as you assign them, and I'll show that feature in just a moment. I can see my class participation, whether or not I had a due date, and whether or not the student completed the activity. So it'll show me the average score, the average time, and then it'll have that individual data for my students. So in this case, Danielle Macklin opened the lesson, but she did not complete it. So I don't have any data on that. So that's our feature for managing classes and managing students. If I go back to my lesson activity, and I'm going to go back to creating another arrange activity type. So this would be one modeled for my younger students, my elementary students. So I'm going to do a story from Aesop's Fable, The Lion and the Mouse. And just like before, I would create my tag. I would tell the students to sequence the story. And then I can have my parts of the plot. So there's my elements of my story. My students would have to then arrange those components of the story. And just like before, I could change backgrounds. I can add sound effects. So maybe I had a fun sound effect of a lion roaring, and I wanted to add that in. Or I could even record my own audio. So I could read the passage. So that would help my students as they moved it to hear what the word said. So this is another really great feature for differentiation. And then I can make my customized parts, changing my background. I'm going to do a nice little image search. So I'm going to search for the lion and the mouse. And it'll pull up all of the images associated with that search. And then I can add those as my background. So there we have our fun part of the story. And I could do the same with my images. With a lot of our younger students, we find that in sequencing a story, if you're doing picture books, sometimes it helps to find images or use images from that for your backgrounds. So then that would help them develop those skills as well. And then just like before, I have the ability to add and edit my descriptions, my tags, all of the information related to my lesson, and then save it to the community, or I could send it to my students. So I showed you the platform for creating classes. This is the platform for if you were to send that assignment to a class. So I have my assignment. If I wanted to have a grade attached to that, and since Arrange is a formative assessment type, I can select a gradable assignment. In this case, my student would be able to do the activity just once, and it would give them an immediate score on how well they performed. And I could then decide which class I wanted to send the assignment to. If I had multiple students, I have the ability to send the assignment to only selected students. So this is great too if you have lessons where you've differentiated scaffold in ways for students of all levels. You could send the activities to individual students who might need more practice in certain skills and not in others. I also could then set a due date. And then once I hit send assignment, that assignment then goes out to my student. My student would have until tomorrow to finish that activity. When my students do complete assignments, one of the features that I also have is the ability to add feedback on those assignments. I don't believe any of the students in my class have completed any of the assignments because I'm the only one in my class. But if I opened it up, I could then see which students have worked on those assignments. And had Danielle Macklin opened her assignment and finished it, I would then be able to provide feedback. So I could say, great job on this, or let's work on these skills next time, so I can make that customized feedback for my student. The other options that I have with my lesson activities is I can create lists for my lessons. So I go back to my lesson activities, and this is going to show all of the lessons I have created. I think my lion lesson will still be there. Lists are really great features if you want to bundle different activities together. So it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a list of all of your lesson activity types that you've created. So you can choose to have, if you teach multiple sections of one subject, you can divide it up by your different sections, or if you had different subjects all within the same grade, you could have a list of math activities or a list of science activities or social studies activities. And then you can actually send that entire list to your students, or you can have that list play on your board when you open up your Snowflake app. So if I go to add to list, I can then select which list I would like to add it to. So I'll have my practice list. I could create a new list if I was doing a whole bunch of lessons, maybe on Aesop's Fables. I could create an entire list related to those. Now I've added it to my list. And then from my teacher dashboard, I can see the activities that I've added. So this is where I would go to create my list as well. And then I can see all of the lists that I have created. I added this lesson, I believe, to my practice list. So there's my lesson. I can rename my lesson list. I could play, so it would go in order of those lessons. I could play randomized, so they would be shuffled. Or I can send the entire list to my students. So if I wanted them to complete all of the activities in that list, that would be an option to do as well. So that's another feature that we have on our Snow.Live platform. These features are also available if you go to your Snowflake app. Once you've synced your lessons, you're able to also view your lesson lists as well as your liked lessons. So these are lessons that there's a little star button, it adds it to it. It's just lessons that you maybe play more frequently or that you kind of like more than others.
Danielle?
Yes.
Scott asked, if I share an activity to the community and later find a mistake, am I able to edit the lesson that is available in the community?
Yes, I believe the way to do that is, so if I went to my lessons, if I go to my shared lesson activities, your shared lessons are going to be only the lessons that you've sent to the community. And from this portion, now of course all of my lessons I've been sharing them to the community, so unless it has in progress under my lessons, these are all ones that I have shared. And then from this option, I can then delete that lesson. So that would delete it from the community, but that lesson would still remain in your dashboard. So you would still be able to access that lesson if you needed to go back and edit.
Thank you, Danielle.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions we have about the arranged lesson activity type?
Are there any questions about the arranged type or about anything else to do with Snowflake that you would like to ask? Can you edit lessons that you find in the community? Allison asked that question. So Allison, Danielle, do you mind if I answer?
Absolutely.
I started going without even thinking about she's leaving the webinar. So, when you find a lesson in the community, when you play it, it becomes your lesson. So as soon as you find a lesson in the community and you play it, if Danielle was to hit the one there that says Origins of Christmas, that would automatically become part of her lessons. She can then go into her lessons and edit that lesson to do whatever she wants to with it. She cannot edit the one that's saved to the community. So no one can go in and change in the community something you've created. But as soon as you play that lesson from anyone that's created it, it becomes part of your lessons and you can edit it however you would like.
Absolutely. So there's that feature. So I played this lesson and now I have the chance to edit any of the features of this lesson.
Are there any other questions from anyone else about anything to do with either the lesson activity type that she spoke about this evening or anything else in Snowflake or Snow.live? From Allison, she asked, are there any rules or laws about copyright? For instance, if I purchase something from Teachers Pay Teacher and upload it or portions of it into a lesson, can I add that to the community? So we as content creators from our company do not use anything that's copyrighted. We are producing stuff for our company and we do not use anything copyrighted. In your school, I would say that you would want to talk to the people in your school about what you do with copyright laws in your school. There are certain copyright privileges that people have with education, and we're not lawyers, so I can't give you advice on that. I can just say check with your school and see what their copyright guidelines are, and that you would want to follow those. We at our company do not load anything into the lessons that we've created that is copyrighted material. Any other questions from anyone else? Allison, you're saying there's no way to make sure that I'm not using copyrighted material if you find it in the community. If you find it from our teachers, from the Snowflake staff, the NUITEQ teachers, it is not copyrighted. I can't tell you what other people have uploaded. It's just like when you go onto YouTube or any of the other crowdsourced materials, people upload things and you just have to know what you're looking at to decide what you want to use. And then again, check with your school, because I think that you'll find that you have a little bit more freedom in your school than we do as a commercial enterprise. Any other questions from anyone? If you have any, go ahead and ask them now while I'm saying thank you. So I would like to say thank you to Danielle for leading this evening's webinar. I am always appreciative of them coming on in the evenings and doing things so that we can try to make your experience on Snowflake and Snow.live a better experience. Again, you have our emails. Mine is jr@nuiteq.com. Danielle's is danielle@nuiteq.com. Please feel free to email us with any questions that you might have, and we'll be happy to try to answer you. Danielle just sent out my email to everyone on the chat so that you can have it. She better put her own in there too.
I got it. I'm also going to send a link to our training videos as well. So these are really great little tiny digestible bites of lesson activities and then all of the features of Snowflake. If you were to watch all of the videos start to finish, it's about 90 minutes. But if you wanted just individual little segments, maybe you wanted more information about the arranged lesson type or really any of the other features of Snowflake, those are available as well. And that is at training.nuiteq.
Angela, thank you very much. Angela said these webinars are very helpful. Thank you and Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Feliz Navidad. A usted también. To you also. I am glad that you find them helpful. We love doing them, and we want you to share that we're doing them with all of your teacher friends so that they can come on also. We find that as you guys ask questions, it becomes a much richer experience. So the more we have on and the more people asking questions, the better off we will all be. The thank you and the Merry Christmas reminds me we are going to have a break in our webinars. And so next week we will not be having one, or the following week, if I'm correct, Danielle. We'll be taking a break for Christmas and for New Year's, but we will be back after that. Danielle, do you know what the next date is that we'll be on?
Let me look at my calendar. So we are not scheduled to do one on the 7th. I believe January 8th will be our next one. I'd have to look at my calendar.
It is January 8th. I'm sorry, Danielle. She knows everything off the top of her head all the time, so I thought you'd look that one. So it will be Wednesday, January 8th. So we hope that you come back and visit us then, and again, share with all of your teacher friends and invite them. We wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a Happy New Year. And thank you for joining us. Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being part of this, and for all of you teachers. If you have those last 2 days, you can get through it. I know it. Just keep pushing through and enjoy the time off that you have as well. So we'll hopefully see everyone back again on January 8th.
Okay. And for the ones that are, so my family Puerto Rican, we also Happy Three Kings Day. So anybody out there that would be celebrating Three Kings, Happy Three Kings Day also, because that'll pass before we come back next time. Enjoy your holidays, everyone. Thank you for your time.